Hello class, and today's lesson is going to be about section 10.2, so please always be following along with your note packet that you find in your files inside of your Blackboard shell. So today's lesson 10.2 is on personal loans and simple interest. So read along here. It says the money a bank or other lender is willing to lend you is called the amount of credit or the principal of the loan. The amount of credit, interest rate, and time will determine how much will be repaid. So there's three factors involved in how much you have to repay. So say you borrow $1,000 from the bank, or say that you're saving $1,000 in the bank. Depending the interest that you earn, if you're doing a savings account, you'll be earning interest. Or if you're taking out a loan, you'll be paying interest. So whichever way that goes, there's three factors that affect how big the interest is. That's how much you borrow, the principal, or how much you're saving, right? And then number two, the interest rate, whether you're paying 3% interest or 10% interest or 2% interest, the interest rate, the higher it goes, the more interest you're going to pay. And then three, the amount of time. So the longer time you save, the more interest you earn, or the longer time you take your loan out for, the more interest you'll pay over the length of that loan. So principal, rate, and time are the three factors that directly influence how much interest you pay. So this is the formula for simple interest is simple interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. They're all just directly multiplied together, those three factors. So I equals PRT is our formula for this section. It's the only formula. We basically use this one throughout the whole section in different ways. So note that the rate and time should be measured in the same units. Whenever we use this formula, if it is normally it's an annual percentage rate or an APR, you might hear that term. Annual means just once a year. What is the annual or once a year rate on your loan or your savings? So if it's understood to be in years or APR, then time should also be noted in years. And that's kind of the default as you go through your problems. If it's not stated otherwise, then it's in years. So if the rate is in years, then you need to say time is in years. So if they say you took a loan for 6 months, you can't plug a 6 in for time. You have to say 6 months. What part of a year is that? So you have to express time in years if it's a yearly rate or an annual rate. If it's a daily rate, then the time should be in days. If the monthly rate, you don't see that so much, but a monthly rate, then the time is in months. So these need to be in the same unit. So be careful about that as you read your problems. And again, if it's not stated, it's assumed to be years. All right, so for example, if you're doing an APR, time should be in years. So just back onto the narrative on your packet. If doing a 7.5% monthly rate, then time should be in months. Many rates are given annually or in years, so the time will usually need to be expressed in years. So just kind of restating what I said. Ordinary interest, the word ordinary interest. This is the most common type of simple interest. In ordinary interest, the following is used for easier calculations. So note that simple interest will mean ordinary unless otherwise noted. So whenever we do an ordinary interest, we assume 30 days in a month because we know that changes, like June and July, one has 30 and one has 31, right? So they're not always exactly 30. And then we have February, so they just average it out in ordinary interest and just say 30 days is the average, so 30 days in a month. And then for the year, we know that it's not exactly 360, it's 365, and then in leap years like this current year, 2020, if you're listening to it currently, 2020 was a leap year, so we had 366 days this year, so it's not always the same amount. But in ordinary, they just say, let's just make it easier to calculate and use 360 days in a year if it says ordinary interest, and then 12 months, that's solid. All right, so here we go. Now that's all the kind of particulars to be aware of. Now let's work some problems. So if you want to pause the video and work some problems, please go ahead and do that. But in our first example, we have a principal, rate, and time given. It's assumed that the rate is in years since nothing was stated there. So this one's very straightforward. We've got principal, rate, time. We're going to multiply those three values together and get the simple interest. One thing I would remind you about is if something is written in percent form before you plug it in a formula, you need to remove the percent sign by going to left. So that converts that to 0.0605. You'll use that in your calculations. So we have 76742.75 for the principal. The rate will be 0.0605 times that, and then times 4 years. So just punch away on your calculator, and you should get an answer of $1,631, and it rounds to the nearest penny. When we're talking about money, round to the hundreds place, or the nearest penny. It was 455, I think, before I rounded. When you did that on your calculator, you had something like that. And so to the nearest penny or hundredth place, the 5 would round that up, so that came out to be 75 cents, to be most accurate. All right, then moving along, number 2, we use this formula again and again here. This time I'll go ahead and plug in P is $41,864. The rate is 0.0375. So 0.0375 is in percent form, even though it seems very small, and it is very small. As long as it has a percent sign on it, you have yet to get it in the right form. You need to go to left, which makes it 0.00, then 0.0375. So move that decimal over if it's in percent form before you plug it in for rate. And this is a per day interest rate, so time should also be in days. So it says 60 days, so I'll plug in 60. No need to put it over 360 or anything. It's already in the right form. This was a per day interest rate, so this should also be in days, 60 days. So just like so. So we just plug that directly in our calculator. You get 941.94 cents to the nearest penny on that. So check your calculations on number 2. Number 3, interest equals principal times rate times time is our base formula we're using again here. This time our principal is $25,900. Rate needs to be moved to left, so it makes it 0.0295 as a decimal. And then notice this one says 3 months. So this was assumed, this rate, 2.95%, it didn't state otherwise. It was assumed to be already in years, so this time should also be in years. So it says 3 months, so I need to divide that by 12 to say 3 months would be a fourth of a year, right? If you did 3 months on the calendar, you'd be a fourth of the way through the year. So 3/12 is how you change months into years. All right, so that's our calculation. So carefully type that in your calculator, type away, and you should get $191.01 to the nearest penny there. Okay, number 4. Now we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're using the I equals PRT formula, but this time we don't know what the principal is. So they can leave out any one of these places in a formula, and we can use our algebra skills to equation solve. On the first 3 examples, we knew P, R, and T, so I didn't use what I would call algebra. I just multiplied together, and I equals that. So it was kind of equation solving, but all the known values were on the same side. So now that's not going to be so on number 4. We don't know what P is, so P is going to stay just the unknown. Rate is 6%, so 0.06. Time is 30, and it's given, oh, I forgot to put, if you have this before I have fixed this, it doesn't have the amount of time. It should be 30 days. 30 days. So 30 in days, and then we're assuming this is a yearly thing since nothing else is said about the rate. Rate is given as 6% without saying otherwise. It means 6% per year. So time should also be in years. So 30 days, we put that over 360. Remember, for the easier calculation, we divide by 360. And then I is given as $26.90. So that's how we plug in the known values given to us. And then we have to equation solve for principal. So on the left side, $26.90, leave that alone. On the right side, these are all multiplied. So go ahead and multiply the parts that you can together. and simplify that. So use your calculator, do 0.06 times the 30 divided by 360 fraction. That should give you 0.005. Then we divide, because to equation solve, P is times that value. The opposite is to divide. To equation solve, we divide. So divide to the other side as well. And then we'll be able to solve for principal. So the principal doing this calculation is 5380. Comes out even on your calculation. So $5,380 for number 4. All right, next page. Number 5, principal, we've got I equals PRT, should not have erased it, I'm going to use that over and over. We've been given the interest is $343.20. This one does give the principal of $1,650. The rate is what's missing this time, so just leave that as an R. And then the time is 6.5 in years. All of this is assumed to be in years unless otherwise stated. So 6.5, we assume the rate will be in yearly rate as well. So we just leave it like it is. Okay, so you see, it's kind of like the last one. These are all 3 multiplied together. So you can multiply out of order, leave the R at the end or the beginning, and go ahead and multiply these 2 parts that are on the same side together. So take your calculator, do 1650 times 6.5. That should come out to be 10,725. And then times R is still happening, and then equals the 343.20. Then we equation solve. What's with the R is multiplied, so we'll do the opposite and divide that out from each side. That cancels. Use your calculator, punch that in. You should get 0.032. So again, we're dealing with that moving the decimal thing. On all of your calculations, you have to take care of moving the decimal for percentage. If you're putting it in a problem, you have to move it left to get rid of the percent sign. But if you're getting an answer for rate, we have to move it right to get it in the right form, to get the percent sign to appear. So this is a raw answer as a decimal. So as a rate or a percentage, go to right. And the answer, the final answer there is 3.2%. All right, number 6. Another application. This time we're just going to say it's a credit union loan. Credit union loan to make it a little more interesting, but it's still the same thing. We're doing the same thing here. So Steve and Laurie borrowed $4,500 from their credit union. That's a principal amount. They borrowed $4,500. And it says they got the rate of 4.75%, so we've got to move that 2 left and make it 0.0475. The decimal was right here, so we moved it 2 left to get it in decimal form. And then the loan is for 3 years. So all the values are known. Again, principal, rate, time, back to that, just more in a reading format, the same old stuff. Multiply that together. The interest, I equals $641.25. So that's answer A. Answer B then says, well, how much do they have to pay the credit union back on the date of maturity of the loan? How much do they owe the credit union? Well, they're going to owe their $4,500 that they took out as a loan. Then they're going to owe their interest $641.25. So in that, they're just asking you to add those back together and say how much do they owe all together. So adding that is $51.41.25. That's how much this couple owes the credit union on the date of maturity. Number 7 is a similar one. We're taking out a loan. It says Joe is going to pawn his guitar to buy his eyeglasses. So Joe borrows $250 from the pawn shop. So $250 is the principal. And he has to pay them back $290 in 30 days. So time is 30 days. We don't know rate. Remember, we put these over 360. And I would be the $40. He's paying back $290, and he borrowed $250, so that's $40. So then do your calculation there. Multiply these 2 parts together is 20.837 repeating R. Try to leave that in your calculator without rounding. It will make your answer more accurate. or keep a lot of decimal points. But that does need to be divided to get R equals 40 divided by that answer, which should be 1.92, which seems like it's already in percent form, but it is not. Remember, we have to go 2 right to make that percent. So that is actually 192%, a little more than you might have bargained for on that.